The New York skyline blurred past Ava Sterling's taxi window, each skyscraper a stark reminder of how far she'd come from the sleepy Hudson Valley town she still begrudgingly called home. Real estate development had been her escape, a way to build a future far removed from quaint streets and nosy neighbors. But the shrill ring of her cell phone shattered that carefully constructed illusion of distance. "Chloe," Ava answered, her voice laced with the practiced calm of a seasoned professional. The voice on the other end was a ragged, barely coherent whisper. "Ava, it's gone. Gone. What's gone, Chloe?" Ava asked as an unsolved mystery began to form. "My house. It's just rubble." The words choked through the line, thick with disbelief and a despair that wrenched at Ava's heart. "They leveled it. Ava, it's just gone." The taxi lurched to a stop, and Ava felt her own breath catch in her throat. Chloe was a historian, a keeper of stories, and her Victorian-era home on Elm Street was more than just a building. It was a repository of memories, of generations, of the very soul of their family. The idea that it could simply vanish felt absurd. "Who, Chloe? Who did this?" Ava demanded, her voice hardening with a protective fury that had served her well in countless boardroom battles. I don't know," Chloe sobbed. "I was in Albany for the conference. I came home, and there's nothing left. Just a pile of bricks. All my things, my research, everything." Ava slammed the door of the cab, the chaotic symphony of Manhattan fading into a dull hum as the gravity of the situation settled. "Forget high-rises, forget contracts, forget everything." Chloe needed her. "Stay put," Ava commanded, her voice regaining its steely edge. "I'm coming home, Chloe. I'll be there as soon as I can." Hailing another taxi, Ava gave the driver an address, her mind racing. This wasn't just some accident. This was deliberate, malicious, and profoundly wrong. As they sped north, away from the glittering lights of the city, Ava felt a cold determination settle within her. Someone was going to pay for this. This thrilling story just started to unravel as she began her journey of discovery. Someone had messed with the wrong family, and they were about to find out what happened when you pushed a Sterling too far. The familiar landscape of the Hudson Valley was waiting for her, but it would never look the same after what had been done. It would never look the same after what happened to her sister's address. The familiar curve of Elm Street now ended abruptly in a scene of utter devastation. Where Chloe's beloved Victorian had stood, a desolate patch of earth now remained, scraped clean like a wound on the landscape. Yellow tape, emblazoned with property closed, flapped listlessly in the late afternoon breeze, a cruel mockery of the meticulous gardens that had once bloomed there. Ava's heart twisted, a fresh wave of grief washing over her. This wasn't just a loss, it was an act of violence. Chloe was there, her face pale, her eyes red-rimmed, her voice trembling as she gestured towards the wreckage. "The Willow Creek Estates Homeowners Association. They did this, Ava. They sent a crew in just yesterday." Ava's jaw tightened. Willow Creek Estates, that exclusive gated community, a fortress of manicured lawns and meticulously enforced regulations, was a world apart from the more down-to-earth vibe of Elm Street. The thought of a power struggle within its walls sparked a flicker of something else within her, a cool, analytical curiosity. A predator's instinct. "Did they give a reason?" Ava asked, trying to keep her voice level. "Some vague nonsense about code violations," Chloe choked out. "But it's not true. I'd have gotten some form of notice if something wasn't up to code, wouldn't I?" "Absolutely," Ava confirmed, her mind already piecing together the puzzle. The HOA. Baha! It smelled of money, ambition, and, judging by the devastation, a complete lack of empathy. Ava decided right then to take a closer look. The imposing wrought iron gates of Willow Creek rose before her, topped with a perfectly lettered sign. Willow Creek Estates, where luxury meets legacy. Luxury perhaps, but Ava suspected the legacy being cultivated was one of secrets and control. She would need to go undercover. Revealing her background as a successful real estate developer would only raise suspicions. It was time to see who was behind this. "I'm going to the HOA office," Ava announced to Chloe. I'm going to find out exactly what happened and who authorized this destruction. Chloe nodded, her eyes reflecting a glimmer of hope. Be careful, Ava. This place, it's full of sharks. As Ava approached the manicured lawns of the HOA headquarters, a sleek, modern building that was clearly designed to impress. Above the entrance in gleaming gold letters was the name, Beatrice Von Stern, President. The thrilling story had just begun, and Ava started her journey of discovery. Ava took a deep breath, straightened her shoulders, and walked towards the front doors of a place where the biggest unsolved mystery began. She was entering the Lion's Den. The Willow Creek Community Center shimmered under the soft glow of string lights, transformed into a scene of genteel elegance for the Preserving Hudson Valley History fundraiser. Ava, armed with a borrowed cocktail dress and a carefully crafted backstory as a visiting writer, mingled through the crowd, her senses on high alert. The air was thick with the scent of expensive perfume, whispered gossip, and the unspoken tension that seemed to cling to the very walls. Beatrice Von Stern, the undisputed queen of this gilded cage, held court near the champagne fountain, radiating a carefully cultivated air of sophistication. Her silver hair was coiffed to perfection, her designer dress a subtle statement of power, and her smile. Well, Ava sensed it held more ice than the chilled bubbly. Such a worthy cause, don't you think? Beatrice purred, her voice smooth as silk as she greeted a newcomer. Preserving the past, while, of course, embracing progress. Ava observed Beatrice's interaction from afar. Her target greeted another woman, and she extended a hand towards her. It's so lovely to meet you. I am Beatrice Von Stern. The name is Ava. It is such a pleasure to meet you. Ava responded with grace and sincerity. How are you so involved in the history of Willow Creek? Oh, darling, I can't tell you how much time I dedicate to our home. It's truly important to me, Beatrice said. Tell me, Ava, what brings you to our neck of the woods? I am writing a paper on some of the great historical houses throughout the valley that have been maintained so gracefully. Well, you must visit some of the new plans we have in store. Beatrice spoke of how things will go, while Ava started to have her own understanding of how Beatrice acted. As the evening progressed, Ava drifted through the crowd, engaging in carefully calculated conversations. She learned that beneath the veneer of civility lay a battlefield of petty rivalries, simmering resentments, and whispers of financial impropriety. One woman, dripping in diamonds, confided in Ava that Beatrice had a habit of reinterpreting HOA regulations to benefit her own properties. Another hinted at questionable land deals and whispered accusations of blackmail. This thrilling story kept unfolding before her eyes. Each interaction added another brushstroke to the portrait of Willow Creek, a masterpiece of manipulation painted by Beatrice Von Stern herself. Ava's journey of discovery had just begun, and she began to learn about the unsolved mystery. But the pieces were starting to fall into place, and with each clink of a champagne glass, Ava felt the ice around her own resolve hardening. Dust motes danced in the afternoon sun that streamed through the grimy windows of Hayes Construction's office, a cramped space crammed with faded blueprints, half-empty coffee cups, and the lingering scent of sawdust. Jesse Hayes, a man etched with the weariness of 1,000 broken promises, leaned back in his creaky chair, his gaze skeptical. Look, Miss Sterling, he said, his voice raspy with years of hard labor. I appreciate the offer, but I don't get involved in HOA squabbles. It's a waste of time, and it usually ends with someone getting sued. Ava perched on the edge of a battered filing cabinet, her eyes fixed on Jesse's. She'd done her research. Hayes Construction had once been a thriving business, a cornerstone of the community. But over the years, contracts had dried up, permits had been denied, and the whispers of the Willow Creek elite had effectively shut him down. He had a reason to be bitter, and she planned to use that to her advantage. This isn't just a squabble, Jesse, Ava said, her voice low and persuasive. My sister's home was illegally demolished. I need someone who knows construction, someone who knows this town, to tell me what really happened. Jesse hesitated, running a calloused hand over his stubbled chin. The official story is code violations. That old place wasn't exactly up to modern standards, but you don't believe that, do you? Ava pressed. Jesse sighed, the sound heavy with resignation. Let's just say I've seen things. Corners cut, permits bypassed, especially when it comes to Willow Creek. They get what they want, one way or another. Then help me find out how they got what they wanted in this case, Ava urged, her eyes pleading. Look at the site. Tell me if anything looks out of place. If there was something illegal about this demolition. Jesse stared at her for a long moment, his gaze piercing and uncertain. He was a man beaten down by life, but Ava sensed a spark of defiance still flickering beneath the surface, a spark that she might just be able to ignite. Finally he nodded, a reluctant agreement etched on his face. All right, Miss Sterling, Jesse said, rising to his feet. I'll take a look, but don't expect miracles. Willow Creek is a powerful force, and that is just an unsolved mystery waiting to be answered. This thrilling story began as the journey of discovery began. As they headed towards the rubble-strewn lot on Elm Street, Ava knew that she had found an unlikely, but invaluable, ally. The walls of Willow Creek were about to get a little bit weaker. The fluorescent lights of the Willow Creek Town Hall hummed a monotonous tune, casting a sterile glow on the sparsely furnished office of Councilman Thorne, a man whose shoulders seemed permanently slumped under the weight of unspoken compromises. Thorne fidgeted with the pen on his desk, avoiding Ava's direct gaze. Miss Sterling, he began, his voice a nervous tremor. I appreciate you reaching out, but I'm not sure I can be of much help. The HOA, it's a private organization, and you're on the board, Ava pointed out, her voice gentle but firm, which means you have insight into their decisions, their motives, and perhaps their hidden agendas. Thorne sighed, a sound that spoke volumes about his internal conflict. Beatrice? She's very persuasive. She has a way of making things seem inevitable. And honestly, the pressure can be immense. Pressure from whom, Councilman? Ava pressed, sensing an opening. He hesitated, glancing nervously at the closed door. Let's just say that Beatrice has a network. Connections. People who benefit from things going her way. People who can make life difficult if you stand in her path. Ava leaned forward, her eyes locking with his. Was my sister's house part of that network, Councilman? Part of that pressure? Thorne flinched, his face paling. He looked like a man trapped between a rock and a hard place, his conscience warring with his self-preservation. The thrilling story seemed to show his internal dilemma in a way Ava never felt before. I can't say anything directly, he stammered, but I can tell you that there are concerns among some of us about Beatrice's methods, about the way things are being done. Ava saw a flicker of hope in his eyes, a silent plea for help. Councilman Thorne, it seemed, was a man teetering on the edge of doing the right thing. The journey of discovery was just being revealed for him. It was a matter of helping him find the courage to take the leap. The unsolved mystery had just revealed its beginning, for it's something that Ava and Thorne are about to figure out. The charm of the Hudson Valley now felt laced with a sinister undercurrent. Ava found herself constantly looking over her shoulder. The idyllic streets of her hometown transformed into a stage for unspoken threats. The subtle nods and lingering glances of the Willow Creek residents now felt more menacing than welcoming. Beatrice Von Stern was sending a message, and Ava received it loud and clear. Back off. The first incident was minor. A flat tire on Ava's rental car. A simple inconvenience easily dismissed as bad luck. But then came the unsettling phone calls. The line silent except for a faint, almost imperceptible static. Chloe began to lock the doors more frequently, her carefree spirit dimmed by a growing unease. The sisters now had to find out the unsolved mystery before things get worse. The tipping point came with the grim discovery on Ava's front porch. A small lifeless bird, its tiny body arranged with unsettling precision. A single crimson feather clutched in its beak. It was a crude, visceral act of intimidation. A direct warning delivered with chilling effect. We need to report this, Chloe insisted, her voice trembling as she stared at the gruesome display. And tell the police what? That someone left a dead bird on my porch, Ava said, her jaw tight with frustration. They'll shrug it off as some prank. We need concrete evidence, Chloe, something they can't ignore. As night fell, Ava found herself unable to shake the image of that lifeless bird. The thrilling story was getting closer to its point. The peaceful haven of her childhood was now a battlefield, and she was the target. She knew she couldn't afford to back down, but the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on her shoulders. This wasn't just about a demolished house anymore. It was about protecting her sister, and standing up to a force that was willing to cross any line to maintain its power. This journey of discovery was just something that Ava had to complete now. The sound of a car slowly passing her house, its headlights cutting through the darkness, sent a shiver down her spine. It was time to play a much more dangerous game. The musty archives of the Willow Creek Historical Society were a haven of forgotten stories, yellowed documents, and the faint scent of decaying paper. Ava, poring over land deeds and HOA meeting minutes under the pretense of researching a local history piece, was hunting for a different kind of story, the hidden narrative of Beatrice Von Stern's ambition. Hours blurred into a monotonous grind of scanning documents, cross-referencing dates, and deciphering cryptic legal jargon. Just as despair began to creep in, a small anomaly snagged her attention. A land transfer document with Chloe's property listed under 2 different zoning classifications within a single year. A faint pattern of a fraud began to unveil an unsolved mystery. Her heart quickened. Zoning changes required extensive paperwork, public hearings, and the approval of the town council. Yet, there was no record of any of those procedures ever taking place. She had found a crack in the foundation of Beatrice's scheme. Enlisting Jesse's help, Ava gained access to the town's digital records, further confirming the forgery. The demolition permit for Chloe's house was authorized using falsified documents, misrepresenting the property's status and bypassing crucial regulatory checks. This thrilling story was getting more exciting. While the documents proved the illegality of the demolition, they didn't explicitly link Beatrice to the forgery. Someone else had signed off on the permit, a low-level clerk seemingly unaware of the deception. Ava needed more. She needed a direct connection to Beatrice herself. Frustration gnawed at her. She was so close, she could almost taste the victory. She decided to go to the clerk and see if she can tell Ava anything about the history. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the archive shelves, Ava felt a renewed surge of determination. This journey of discovery was more complex than Ava was expecting. Beatrice might be a master manipulator, but she wasn't infallible, and Ava was determined to find the flaw that would bring her entire scheme crashing down. The truth was out there, buried beneath layers of deceit, and Ava was prepared to dig until she found it. Chloe, poring over historical maps and zoning regulations in the local library, stumbled upon a revelation that sent a chill down her spine. The demolished site of her home was slated to become a key piece in a sprawling new development project, spearheaded by Willow Creek Estates. This was more than just a personal vendetta. It was a calculated maneuver in a high-stakes game of real estate. "Ava, look at this," Chloe exclaimed, spreading out the maps on the table. "They're planning a luxury condo complex, right here on Elm Street, and my property. It's the cornerstone of the entire project." Ava stared at the plans, a cold fury rising within her. Beatrice wasn't just abusing her power. She was manipulating the entire town for personal gain. Chloe's home wasn't a casualty to bad code violations. It was a stepping stone. The proposed development would drastically alter the character of Elm Street, replacing historic homes with sterile high-rise buildings and driving up property taxes for the remaining residents. It was a clear case of prioritizing profit over community, a blatant disregard for the town's heritage. Chloe knew she needed to fight for her home. This thrilling story has continued to get more interesting. "This explains everything," Ava said, her voice hardening with determination. The forged documents, the illegal demolition. It was all about clearing the way for this development. The news sparked a renewed sense of purpose in Ava. This was no longer just about avenging her sister's loss. It was about protecting the entire town from Beatrice's greed and corruption. She had always considered herself an outsider to Willow Creek, but this discovery created new feeling, a deep sense of responsibility for her home and for the people in it. This journey of discovery had changed. "We have to stop this, Ava," Chloe said, her voice filled with conviction. "We can't let them destroy our town for the sake of some luxury condos." Ava nodded, her eyes gleaming with resolve. Beatrice had underestimated their connection to the town. "We will, Chloe. We will. The unsolved mystery has many paths." The late-night phone call sent a jolt of icy dread through Ava's veins. It was Jesse, his voice barely a whisper, strained with fear. Ava, I can't do this anymore. I'm out. What? What are you talking about, Jesse? Ava demanded, her heart pounding in her chest. They came to my shop, he rasped. Men. From the city. They made it clear that if I kept helping you, things would get very bad. For me. For my family. He was stuck between two worlds. The unsolved mystery has come to hurt him. Ava's grip tightened on the phone. Beatrice was escalating, tightening the screws. She was no longer content with subtle threats. She was actively targeting anyone who dared to stand against her. Jesse, I understand, Ava said, her voice a mix of anger and disappointment. I'm sorry I put you in this position. Just be careful, Ava, Jesse pleaded. She plays dirty. She has eyes everywhere. The call was cut short. The betrayal was a new mark on Ava's journey. The realization that she was now completely alone, cut off from her only ally, sent a wave of vulnerability washing over Ava. The weight of the entire investigation, the responsibility for protecting Chloe and the town, now rested solely on her shoulders. The game had become much more dangerous, and she had just lost a vital piece of the puzzle. The thrilling story would take her to her limits. As darkness settled around her, Ava felt a chilling sense of isolation. It was time to decide whether to press on or to retreat. But the image of Chloe's devastated face, and the memory of the town's rich history being bulldozed for profit, fueled her resolve. She knew she couldn't back down, even if it meant facing Beatrice alone. This journey of discovery was Ava's and Ava's alone. But the loneliness came with a keen focus and determination. The betray was a test for her own journey to see if she can stay on the right path. The Willow Creek Town Hall, normally a symbol of civic pride, now felt like a battleground. The air crackled with nervous energy as Ava and Chloe worked to transform the somber space into a rallying point for the town's beleaguered homeowners. Posters, hastily printed with the slogan, "Save our homes, save our history," adorned the walls, testaments to the growing unrest bubbling beneath the surface of Willow Creek's manicured facade. The sisters had spent the past few days reaching out to residents, sharing their story, and urging others to come forward with their own experiences of abuse and intimidation. Many were hesitant, paralyzed by fear of retribution. But slowly, cautiously, stories began to trickle in. Tales of inflated HOA fees, arbitrary code violations, and veiled threats from Beatrice and her allies. The people wanted to solve the unsolved mystery. As the hall began to fill, Ava surveyed the crowd, her heart swelling with a mix of hope and trepidation. She saw familiar faces, Councilman Thorne, his expression a mask of nervous determination, elderly residents whose homes had been threatened by code violations, young families struggling to keep up with rising property taxes. Each person carried their own burden, their own story of hardship at the hands of Willow Creek Estates. This was truly a thrilling story. Chloe took the stage, her voice clear and strong as she recounted the demolition of her home, her voice now ringing with fierce determination. Then another resident followed, a tearful young mother who explained the pressure she and her family had been going through. "We can't let her win," Chloe declared, her words echoing through the hall. "We can't let her destroy our homes, our history, our community." "Who's next?" Ava stepped onto the podium now. With the words she shared, she noticed that many were feeling comforted that they are not going through this alone. It was now time to take on Beatrice and unveil all the lies. They may come at us and force us, but together we stand strong. Who is ready to take a stand for their property? From the darkness and the silence, it was Councilman Thorne. He would reveal the wrongdoings of Beatrice. The community wanted to follow in the journey of discovery, and the truth will set them free. And so Ava planned to set out to prove to her that she cannot take away what the people have always loved. The stage was set. The time for reckoning had arrived. The air in the Willow Creek Town Hall thrummed with anticipation as Ava took center stage. Across the room, Beatrice Von Stern sat ramrod straight, her face a carefully constructed mask of disdain, the very picture of icy composure. She was about to see her power crumble. "Good evening, everyone," Ava began, her voice ringing with confidence. "Tonight, we are here not just to share our stories, but to demand accountability. We are here to expose the truth about Willow Creek Estates." With that, Ava launched into her presentation, methodically laying out the evidence she had gathered. the forged zoning documents, the falsified demolition permits, the testimonies of intimidated homeowners. Each piece of evidence chipped away at Beatrice's carefully constructed image of legitimacy. These documents proved that the demolition of Chloe Sterling's home was illegal, a clear violation of town regulations, Ava declared, holding up a blown-up copy of the forged permit. This thrilling story was just getting to the climax. A murmur rippled through the crowd, faces hardening with anger and disbelief. Councilman Thorne, emboldened by Ava's revelations, rose to his feet, his voice trembling but firm. "I can confirm that these documents are indeed fraudulent," he stated, facing the crowd. "I was pressured by Ms. Von Stern to approve this demolition, but I refused to go along with it." Beatrice's face contorted with fury. "This is a slander, a baseless accusation," she snapped, her voice tight with controlled rage. "These people are simply disgruntled troublemakers trying to undermine the integrity of this community." But her words rang hollow against the growing tide of evidence. Ava presented more. From the city records, it indicated no proper approval. Also, she presented a letter from the head of the demolition team, indicating she authorized this quickly. This journey of discovery has proven to be a success. One by one, residents rose to their feet, their voices joining the chorus of dissent. The unsolved mystery has come to the light. Finally, Ava turned her attention directly to Beatrice, her gaze unwavering. "You have manipulated this community, exploited its residents, and destroyed lives for your own personal gain," she said, her voice filled with righteous indignation. "Your reign of power ends here tonight, Miss Von Stern." Beatrice's carefully constructed facade finally shattered, her face contorted with rage, and she let out a guttural cry of defiance. She had been completely cornered, her lies exposed for all to see. As the crowd erupted in a thunderous applause, Ava knew that the tide had turned. The truth had been unmasked, and Willow Creek would never be the same again. The following days were a whirlwind of legal filings, police investigations, and media frenzy. The small town of Willow Creek, once synonymous with manicured lawns and quiet affluence, became the epicenter of a national story. A tale of greed, corruption, and the resilience of community spirit. The local authorities, spurred by Ava's evidence and the overwhelming public outcry, launched a full-scale investigation into Beatrice Von Stern and the inner workings of Willow Creek Estates. The HOA board, once a bastion of unwavering loyalty, began to fracture as members turned against each other, desperate to distance themselves from Beatrice's downfall. It was time for the judicial system to come in to solve the unsolved mystery. Councilman Thorne, shedding his former timidity, provided crucial testimony, confirming the forgery and detailing the pressure he had faced from Beatrice. Other homeowners, emboldened by his courage, stepped forward with their own stories of intimidation and financial abuse. The community wanted to follow along for the thrilling story that will hopefully prove justice. The legal fallout was swift and decisive. Beatrice Von Stern was charged with multiple felonies, including fraud, forgery, and obstruction of justice. The HOA itself faced a class action lawsuit from the affected homeowners, seeking compensation for damages and a complete overhaul of its governance structure. It was all thanks to the amazing journey of discovery. But the wheels of justice turned slowly, and as the legal battles dragged on, the emotional wounds within the community remained raw. Chloe, still grappling with the loss of her home and her treasured possessions, found solace in the outpouring of support from friends and neighbors. She became a symbol of resilience, her unwavering spirit inspiring others to rebuild their lives and reclaim their community. Ava, exhausted but resolute, remained in Willow Creek, working alongside local activists to advocate for reforms and ensure that Beatrice's actions were not swept under the rug. She knew that true justice required more than just legal victories. It required a fundamental shift in the power dynamics within the town. The final victory came when the court ruled in favor of the homeowners, ordering Beatrice to pay restitution for the damages and imposing strict oversight on the HOA's future operations. The ruling was a testament to the power of community action and a clear message that even the most powerful individuals are not above the law. A year later, the skeletal frame of a new house rose from the once barren lot on Elm Street, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of community solidarity. Chloe, her eyes sparkling with renewed hope, stood alongside Ava, watching as the construction crew hammered and sawed, piecing together the foundation of a brighter future. The unsolved mystery was a clear and shut case. The town had completely removed Beatrice from any position of power so that the town wouldn't relive what it previously went through. Willow Creek Estates still existed, of course, but it was a shadow of its former self, stripped of its power and forced to operate under strict regulatory oversight. The corrupt board has been replaced with people who live in the town. The new HOA, guided by a diverse group of homeowners committed to transparency and fairness, actively worked to repair the damage of the past, implementing reforms and fostering a spirit of inclusivity. The people of this community all wanted the thrilling story to end. "It's more than just a house, Ava," Chloe said, her voice soft with emotion. "It's a symbol of hope, of renewal. It shows that even after the most devastating loss, we can rebuild, we can rise again." The new design incorporated elements of the original Victorian style, blending seamlessly with the surrounding historic architecture. But it also embraced modern elements, reflecting Chloe's forward-thinking spirit and her commitment to building a more sustainable future. This entire journey of discovery has proven that justice is a clear victory. Ava placed her hand on Chloe's shoulder, a wave of warmth washing over her. "You rebuilt more than just a house, Chloe," she said, her voice filled with admiration. "You rebuilt this town, one brick at a time." As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow across the landscape, Ava and Chloe walked hand in hand through the streets of Willow Creek, now a place of vibrant community spirit. They had faced adversity, fought corruption, and emerged stronger, more resilient, and more connected than ever before. And they will never be afraid again. The story was now at its closing chapter. From that day forward, Willow Creek would never forget what has happened, and it will forever have two new guardians of this community. This gripping tale of Willow Creek offers potent life lessons applicable far beyond its gated community. First, stand up against injustice, even when facing powerful adversaries. Ava's courage teaches us to challenge unethical behavior, reminding us that silence enables abuse. Consider speaking up at work when you see unfair practices, even if it risks your position. Second, community strength amplifies individual efforts. Ava couldn't have defeated Beatrice alone. Rallying the town transformed isolated fear into a powerful force. Seek out support networks in your own life, knowing collective action can achieve more than individual struggle. Third, uncover hidden agendas to make informed decisions. Chloe's research revealed the larger development plan, shifting their focus from personal loss to collective preservation. Dig deeper in your own life, questioning surface-level explanations, and seeking root causes to empower your choices. Finally, betrayal can strengthen resolve. Jesse's withdrawal forced Ava to rely on her inner strength, revealing her true capabilities. See setbacks as opportunities for self-discovery and growth. Embrace these lessons, and you'll cultivate resilience and make your own renewal a reality. Now on her way,